Oh, the technology for vehicles is all wrapped up into this question of efficiency and mileage. So let me explain that to you. The ability of cars today is much greater than it was even 20 years ago. They're faster, they're safer, in many cases they're larger, but the fuel economy is about the same as they were about 20 years ago. And as you indicated, the fuel economy is not so different from the vehicles around the turn of the previous century, the Model T and so forth. The difference is that the Model T was a much less capable car than the cars we have today. And so the automobile industry has developed a large number of very advanced technologies, but they've all been applied for more speed, more size, and more comfort. They have not been applied, although they could be in many cases, they have not been applied to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions of the vehicle or reducing the fuel consumption of the vehicle. One of the things about biofuels is the research that's going into creating the second generation of biofuels. The fuels we have today are essentially agricultural commodities that we've manufactured for hundreds of years. But they aren't very good fuels. Their energy density can be low. In the case of ethanol, they can be corrosive and so forth. This next generation of biofuels, things that people are researching today, will be much better substitutes for the petroleum-based fuels we have today. In fact, they may be virtually identical in chemical structure, but they'll have come from a biologic source rather than from a fossil fuel. And this will make a great deal of difference to the usability of these fuels. But at the same time, we also have to face the challenge of where we will be growing these biofuels and what land we'll be using. So what we see in the future is changes both in the types of fuels that will be produced and the feedstocks that are being raised in order to make these biofuels. So some of the other ways to produce biofuels essentially use either degraded lands or require very little land because they're using wastes. And so in the United States, for instance, there's a fair number of folks who are producing their own biodiesel, and they use waste grease and waste oils. And this is beginning to get scaled up to industrial size. However, the amount of these waste oils that are available is pretty limited. Degraded land. There's a fair amount of land that was used for some period for growing food, but it was not really suitable for agriculture. And there's land like this in the United States, there's land like this in Brazil and elsewhere. It may be possible to grow perennial grasses like switchgrass or other perennials on this land, restore the soil quality, actually store carbon in the soil by restoring the soil quality, and produce some fuel from this as well. And that has a completely different equation in terms of land use compared to corn or soy or even sugarcane. Lastly, we do have things like municipal solid waste that we put in the landfill. This can be turned into a biofuel. And we will see over the next couple of years if we develop the technologies to do this safely and cleanly and hopefully economically. But if you really wanted to have a green car, what you ought to look for is a high-efficiency car that may be the smallest one that you think is feasible for you to use. And it could use a diesel engine. We're going to see diesels come in greater numbers into the U.S. in the next couple of years as the emission control technology has been developed to allow that to happen. And we'll also see, I think, increasing numbers of vehicles that are not only hybrid but possibly plug-in hybrid cars. And they are relatively green. They offer lots of opportunities. And I think we'll see more choices for consumers to make in the future.